This episode is sponsored by Origami Risk, an award-winning, adaptable, cloud-based platform that can help you and your business manage all aspects of resilience, such as risk, safety, insurance, and even the management of business continuity and disaster recovery plans. Visit origamirisk.com/resilience. Enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Resilience Pod, the podcast helping you become resilient in our world full of disruptions. You're here with me, your host, Reena Singh. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so grateful. Today's episode is about personal transformation and how to establish a career in cyber resilience. How exciting. I am joined with my next guest, who is an avid speaker who has recently delivered over 55 keynote and panel speaking engagements across 9 different countries. Totally international. She is an IT security champion winner for Australia's Women in Security Network and brings with her a wealth of executive and consulting industry experiences. She has defined transformation for her and looked at a career in resilience. And I'm so excited to bring to you this episode, which shares some of this personal side, a little bit different to future episodes and other episodes we've done, to see how can we learn from this. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming my next guest, all the way from Australia, Anu Kukar. Welcome.
Hello, so nice to be here, Reena.
Welcome, so nice to meet you too. I'm so excited for this, and I love that we're talking from 2 different sides of the world and major time zones. Love it.
Absolutely, and thank you for the warm introduction. That I had to blush myself there and just go, was that really me?
Yes, fangirl, we love it. We love representation. So today's episode, as I alluded to earlier for our audience, is about personal transformation and how to get into really a career in cyber resilience. And before we get into that, because I am so I really want to know, because maybe I'll decide to do that. Who knows? I want to get an idea of what self-transformation means to you, because when we talk about personal transformation and self-transformation, it's such a broad topic, and so it's really interesting for me to find out and for our audience to know, well, actually, what is it for you and how would you define it?
I think for me, it's probably comes down to 2 things.
Okay.
It comes down to pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So any self-transformation, I've done 5 career switches over 20 years. And so each one of them has meant pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So I think that's a real important part. The other big part of self-transformation is lifelong learning. So to switch careers 5 times means you really need to have that curiosity. You've got to learn. You've got to continuously find different ways to do things. And I use an analogy of Lego. I used to play a lot of Lego as a kid. And you know how you get the Lego set and you get here's what you've got to build. So you build that, but then as a kid, you can't build the same thing. So then you have to use your curiosity and creativity and use the same blocks to build something else.
Love that.
That to me is kind of self-transformation, but lifelong learning as adults.
Oh my goodness. I know this is such an interesting concept about the Lego and using the same things to create something new. Love that. Never heard this before. What a simple but effective way to describe this. Absolutely love it. Now, bearing in mind, you've just said you could change careers 5 times. Wow, pretty impressive. Some of us get scared to change it once. I want to know, I just want to build on that a little bit before we talk about more specifically about your career switches, is we're talking about self-transformation and this leads to resilience too. So along that journey, what steps did you take to build your own resilience? Because surely that's quite a lot of change going on in your life, and this is just career we're talking about, not personal as well.
Yeah, look, it was, and I would say a couple of things. I think naturally I like learning and I'm curious, so that sort of just maybe some of the fear factor then sort of got washed out. But I think just having someone in your corner, and I'm really grateful I had my brother through all of this, just really backing me, vouching for me, supporting me, and really kind of going, you know what, you can do it, back yourself. So whether it was getting myself comfortable speaking at engagements, keynotes, etc., or switching careers into, let's be honest, very male-dominated industries, or sort of not the typical sort of career path. I think that's been one of my biggest ones, that having my brother in my corner constantly. I think the other part of building that confidence, I build that confidence from if I know something. So that constant lifelong learning, it's something I just do. It's kind of like exercise. You've got to get your 10,000 steps a day. You've got to sleep 8 hours a day. Lifelong learning is the same. Like, I have this within my team. So every team I've had for the last few years, we've introduced lifelong learning as a mindset. And so kind of like how we've got to drink a couple of liters of water, sleep, exercise, you should be doing some level of upskilling every week, every month. And so a tip for your listeners is, whether you're a team leader or you are part of a team, we have a lifelong learning goal as a team in our monthly sprint planning. We use Agile. So we don't have to do the same thing, but we each have one learning that we will do each month. And so part of our showcase at the end of the month is, what have we learned? And that then really just builds our resiliency, because I get confidence from having that knowledge.
I absolutely love that. So it's not just you doing this in your own time, you've actually incorporated it into work and your team. And I feel that sometimes as practitioners, we don't have time to do that reflection. We definitely don't have time to do horizon scanning, and I go on about it all the time, which we should, because we're quite reactive. But then the learning thing is just a whole different level. And I love that you're actually saying this and you're actually doing it with your team. It's an amazing idea, guys. So if you're listening, take note of this. And if you do implement this, and I want you to get in touch immediately with me and Anu to tell us, because brilliant idea. And if you are doing this, please drop me a note and tell me, because I think I might go away and take this on board too, because it's very effective. And I guess, I know that, like, following up from that, the learning isn't like, wouldn't be, oh yeah, you have to go and do like a 6-month course. It could be learning anything, right?
Absolutely, yeah. What we do is we kind of agree what are the big topics or themes that we need to learn for the year, and so we start by 3 or 5 big buckets. We've got one which is cybersecurity, because we're a cybersecurity professional. We need to know all the new technologies.
Yes.
But we also need to know other skills. And so everyone knows the buckets, and it's about getting the knowledge. So whether it's like a badge that you can do in a month, or something that goes over 2 months as well, but it's about also applying it. So you can't just do all the knowledge, because if we don't apply it, then it goes to waste, or we don't remember it. So we also try and find what are the work tasks or engagements that people will get. And so the month prior, that they're doing the knowledge that will help them succeed in that piece of work. But I will share another tip for your listeners. I also incorporate learning with exercise. So whether you've got a stepper, because we've been in COVID for a few years working from home, if you've got a stepper or a treadmill like I do, you can get these desks that sort of supports there. And so if you're watching or listening to a podcast or doing some learning, I'll try and get my 10,000 steps in whilst learning as well.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good tip. And yeah, especially when listening to podcasts. So all of you guys who are listening to us, get out there and get your steps in.
Keep walking.
Resilience. Yeah, keep walking, or doing some laundry or something. So yeah, I love that. That's really, really insightful. And it's really good to understand, like, what your whole concept of transformation, and like the personal resilience and the learning aspect, because that's quite key and something that we do overlook a little bit. Now I want to move on from that and talk about your 5 career switches, and what really compelled you to do this. Like, what were you doing before? Talk me through a little bit of that journey to help us understand like why and kind of where you were.
Yeah, we've got to have a promise that any of the listeners are not going to laugh at this. So, so I started my career. So let me share the story and then why it happened. So anyone listening really can take some inspiration, but also some tips on how I did it. I actually started my career. I'm a chartered accountant. And I started as a tax accountant. I used to get those lovely shoe boxes with receipts when we used to pay with cash, and very much fill out tax returns and submit them to the tax office. I then switched careers into and became an internal auditor, and really got to see organizations' value chains, really understand what are the risks, what are the controls, and really understand strategic and efficiency improvements that could be made. I then switched into a governance, risk and compliance professional. I then switched into doing more supply chain, third-party risk, transformation, bit of risk innovation, like developing new consulting products, commercializing products, and then finally moving on to data and emerging tech like artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud, and cybersecurity. So kind of 5 switches. And what made me do each one of them is I think that, again, that Lego thing as a kid, where you get the same set and you've got to come up with different things. I think a lot of people will do new hobbies every year and try different things. I think every few years I'll kind of go, let's switch careers, let's try something new, which means I've got to upskill and I get to learn. I also get bored doing the same thing. So to keep myself active and my mind active, really just, kind of pushing myself out of the comfort zone, learning, and really sort of go, you know what, I can learn a new hobby, but I could also learn something new and change careers, and that will just grow me personally.
Love that. It's interesting to see that change, because all the skills and all the careers that you've had, you get some career capital out of that, so it's not a waste, because I think a lot of people will see this, some may perceive it as, oh no, I just spent years studying to do one thing and I don't want to change. And I've personally been in that mind frame, like, oh, I've invested too long in this, but actually you can use some of those skills to do something else, which is I personally, for me, that's quite pertinent, and hopefully for you too, that you feel that way, because you haven't switched careers. Yeah, she's nodding, guys. Yeah. If you're watching us, you could see but not listening. So yeah, that really quite insightful about why, and kind of where your story about where you started and where you come from, and it helps us understand like your background, which is quite nice. Now, as a resilience practitioner, I'll probably be doing, and for all of us who are listening, we do one element of resilience, and you've kind of done quite a few. You're in this exciting space in cyber and looking at all this new things, which when I just hear those words, I get really excited about it, but have no idea what that means. If I am a practitioner, I'm listening to you and thinking, feeling a bit stale, don't really want to quit the resilience industry per se, but might want to switch a little bit, especially into cyber, where you've made such a big impact. Guys, she's won an award in this, so, and and is doing so much more, which we'll get into later. Like, what would be your golden tips for us to start considering this? Because what, this is the kind of tips that no one tells you. You have to figure it out on your own. So we'd really love that sharing and insight from you.
Yeah, and I'd be more than happy to share it with the listeners. I will say that as you sort of think about switching, you don't have to give up the profession that you're in. I am still a chartered accountant to this date. I'm still part of that association. I have just upskilled, and if you want to call it switch, my focus to contribute my skills. So I think having that awareness that you're not giving up your identity as a resilience professional. I'm still a chartered accountant, and equally I would say, so when you have that sort of mindset that you're not giving your identity up, you're just building on it and growing. I think that's my first sort of golden tip. The other part I would say is 2 things. When I think back to all the switches, I would say to your listeners, if you're wanting to do that, whether it's to cyber or just something else, I think 2 things are really, really key. You've got to really think about what's your superpower. And I think what I really liked, Rena, was that you kind of summed it up, is there are transferable skills. I didn't go back to zero and have to study for 5 years or something. We've got transferable skills, and so identifying what your superpower is, we've all got something that we're good at and some great skills. understand those so that you can figure out what you can apply in the next career switch or upskilling. And then the second thing is you really need to develop that lifelong learning habit, that constant learning and upskilling. And there are so many freebie things online. Like I used to read so many different things. There are magazines, there are now podcasts. You've almost got to be that sponge that is just soaking up all that learning and then finding ways to actually apply it. But I think superpower and lifelong learning are the first two steps, I would say, for anyone listening.
Yeah, and that's quite pertinent. Now, how do I go about finding out my superpower? So I'm especially into cyber because this is something you've done. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into that in terms of like, okay, I'm doing, say, business continuity, risk management, crisis management, and cyber sounds quite exciting. Like, what would be the first thing to go and look at, or the first few things to go and look at, let's just say?
Yeah, look, I think there's a couple of different things. What I did was, again, I was quite lucky. I had my brother who also happened to be in cyber.
Nice.
So I think that helps when you've got someone who just takes you under your wing. We spend a lot of time talking through. So I would say reach out. So any listeners, reach out to a cyber professional, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have a chat. Just having that chat to understand what's been your background. And you can then unpick and go, okay. And so I think Renee said, if say a person has got that business continuity and risk, well, that person's got risk management, they've got business continuity. In cyber, we need cyber risk professionals, right? So you could apply your risk skills. Business continuity is amazing skills to have when you need to really make sure that your business is ready and can cope if there is a disaster. Well, in the cyber world, what's the equivalent? Well, if there is an attack, you need to get sure that you can respond and get your business back up and running again. So in my mind, those skills are transferable. I would start by one, reach out to someone, reach out to me, have someone like I had my brother just to talk through and unpack it. Secondly, listen to a podcast or go to a cyber webinar, because you will start, or a conference, you will see the different areas and you'll start going, oh, I like that, or I like that. And that's where you can then find what's your sort of area of interest.
Yeah, love that. So true. Like key takeaways, utilizing your network, like, you know, LinkedIn, we probably know so many. Go and reach out. How many of you actually talk to your LinkedIn contacts, or do you just like you're collecting all these contacts globally? Like, let's have the conversation. Really like that. And you've done that. Obviously you had your brother on your side, but that, you know, we don't all need like brothers or sisters working in the field. We've got connections. So I love that. And Anu has like really literally opened her door up to any of you wanting to do this. I like your advice about then looking at webinars and the different types and elements of cyber, because you're right, it's not just one topic, there's lots of nuances to that. So I like it. And then the examples of how this could be transferable. So it's given me some food for thought, and hopefully those who are listening or watching us are kind of the cogs are turning in their brains thinking, maybe I could do something else with my skills. And you know, because sometimes we get into a bit of a funk, don't we? And cyber sounds quite exciting. So yeah, definitely it's not one of those things where you just wake up tomorrow and be like, I want to do this. You need to investigate, basically, if you really want to get into it, because I know a lot of us fell into the resilience profession, but a lot of us are actually now consciously studying this topic to do it. So it's quite intentional now too. There's a bit of a shift in the profession. And so anyway, thank you for that. Moving on from this, and you've spent a lot of time. So you've kind of gone into this career, you've won this IT security champion, like for women in security, you've done lots of things. Another massive thing that you're doing right now is you've created a campaign basically on like helping people switch to cyber. Tell us a little bit more about like what it is and how other people can get involved. Yeah,
look, I'd be more than happy to. And so any of the listeners, this is where really, if you are interested in switching and joining cyber, this is where the campaign's coming in. Right now in 2022 globally, the latest stats are that we have got approximately 1.8 million vacant cybersecurity positions.
Whoa,
that is a massive number. And when you think about like organizations at the moment, they are, in the latest global survey, I think over 50% were saying that if a cyber attack happened, they can't respond and deal with it because they don't have enough cyber security professionals. Then you look at globally, the number of ransomware attacks just in the first half of just last year, and we've now got more COVID and working from home and remotely, the number of ransomware attacks have gone up by 151%. Organizations on average are getting attacked 270 times.
Wow.
Like, so the numbers of cybersecurity attacks are just growing. We're going into more and more of a digital world. It's not like we're going to go back to pen and paper, and that's not going to happen. So you've got sort of two key drivers. You've got more digital, more of the world that way, and then you've got more cyber attacks therefore happening. And in the middle, you've got this gap of cyber skills professionals. So with that, and at the back of my very honored with that award, I kind of thought, well, what can we do? Because if we continue, the existing cybersecurity professionals are just going to get drained out, fatigued out, and burnt out. And if we continue, then hang on, organizations are not going to be safe, nations are not going to be safe if they can't respond to cyber attacks, because that's only increasing. So I kind of thought, well, we've got to help more people come into cyber. We need to shorten that skills gap. And if you look at countries around the world, UK, Singapore, Germany, Australia, everyone, they've got various programs at a government level. But I thought, you know what? I want to do something different. I want to do something around, like myself, I came into cyber as a chartered accountant. So this campaign is all about doing two things. It's growing awareness and igniting passion for professionals who have come from a diverse skills background. So if you're a marketing person, a resiliency, BCP, etc., you can apply your skills, and we want you to join cyber and help protect organizations and your nation. So anyone who's listening who has got any interest or want to explore it, Switch2Cyber, so that's with a number 2. We will post the link when the podcast comes out. You can read about the campaign and you can join other people to make the journey.
Love this. Yes, thank you so much. We will definitely share all the details, because definitely the pod is definitely supporting this. And absolutely, I think it's brilliant that you're doing this, because sometimes it's easy to say, yeah, we need more people, and you want to avoid the burnout, which is quite an interesting point that you raised, because a lot of us are burnt out already anyway, and we don't need a new cyber profession which is growing to be burnt out along with the rest of the say, for example, the crisis or business continuity professionals. So I really love this idea. It's really great. Thank you for that. And folks, if you're listening or watching us, hopefully this has all come together, because Anu's talked about like self-transformation, how she's like built her own resilience at the back of this, her career journey, what she's done to switch, given us some really key tips and a bit more, because I squeezed a bit more out of her than she was expecting, and then like given us a platform. So if you're really interested in this, like go to her Switch2Cyber campaign and have a look at that and connect with people across the globe, because that's the way to do it, really. So thank you, Anu, for this. Before we wrap up, because we're running out of time, any final thoughts for our audience?
Oh, look, it's been a pleasure being on the podcast and chatting. I feel like we're literally just sitting here with a cup of Indian chai and just eat some pakoras or some food. For anyone listening, and if I've made you hungry with that chat, I'd say if you take nothing else away, most importantly, two things. Really try and think about what is your superpower, what are you good at, and what are those transferable skills, and get into, secondly, a habit of lifelong learning. So think about the way we watch Netflix every evening or Prime Video, whatever it is that we watch, streaming, the way we exercise, the way we drink water. How are you getting that lifelong learning mindset for yourself, but do it with your team at work?
Love that. Thank you so much. Please do take everything Anu has said into consideration. I know you guys will, because we're family, and I know you listen to everything that we say. You really appreciate this. So Anu, thanks so much again for joining us all the way from Australia. I love this.
Thank you for having me on the show.
My absolute pleasure. Cannot wait to, connect with more people who are interested in cyber, and hopefully, kind of grow this profession. And who knows, I think I might go and have a quick sneak peek at it as well and pick her brains.
Very welcome.
Yes, it does sound quite exciting. Okay, guys, so Anu, join me in thanking Anu once again. And folks, if you've been tuned in today, whether you're watching or listening, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this across your whole network if you found it useful. And this is me, your host, Reena Singh, with our guest, Anu Kukar, saying bye for now. And until next time, keep on investing in your resilience.